The journey to Cayonne's abyssal sanctuary was long and silent. Leaving Veretta Nook behind, the anticipation between Ernesto and Aurelio was palpable. The ruins emerged on the horizon, almost swallowed by the vegetation, a stone skeleton covered in moss and centuries of history. They descended into subterranean sections, a tangle of damp passages where the heavy air smelled of mold and had a peculiar metallic tang. Guided by Cayonne's starlight fragment, they entered a secret circular chamber. There, untouched by time, lay Cayonne's pictographic scrolls. What other secrets were these ancient scrolls about to reveal? If you yearn to unveil the veils of truth, like and follow for the next stage of this quest. In the damp depths of Cayonne's abyssal sanctuary, amidst the smell of mold and the peculiar metallic tang of the air, Ernesto and Aurelio pored over Cayonne's pictographic scrolls. Untouched by time, they lay there, ancient rolls that at first glance seemed like mere cave drawings. But Professor Aurelio, with his usual reverence when handling the unknown, unrolled one of them with white gloves. What was revealed was no ordinary text, but a visual narrative, intricate and full of symbols that danced in a cosmic cadence. It was a saga of journeys through the stars, represented by sequences of aligned celestial bodies and beams of light that connected distant points of the cosmos. Ernesto felt the chilling familiarity of truth. At the center of each illustration, human figures were uplifted, not to the heavens in celestial ecstasy, but to colossal structures that hovered far above the clouds, like floating cities among the eons. It wasn't a singular rapture, Ernesto realized, but a meticulous and recurring process, a gathering of key individuals throughout history's vast tapestry. Each frame of the scrolls detailed a transport, a disappearance that humanity had interpreted as a miracle, martyrdom, or insoluble mystery. He saw wise kings of lost civilizations, visionary prophets from ancestral eras, all gently or perhaps inevitably taken beyond earthly perception. And then, in one of the last illustrations, the final sequence exploded in Ernesto's mind with overwhelming clarity, a vision that transcended the scroll and invaded his very consciousness. He saw the figure in Rome, unmistakable. The features were those of the apostle, aged but with an indomitable resilience in his eyes. He wasn't being dragged to the executioner, nor was his posture that of a condemned man. On the contrary, he appeared upright, serene, almost resigned, surrounded by guards who, instead of executioners, seemed like mere facilitators. Celestial blue beams of light emanated from above, enveloping him. It wasn't a decapitation, it was a final translocation, a ritualistic farewell, an orchestrated return. "It's him, Aurelio," Ernesto whispered, his voice hoarse with emotion and the magnitude of the revelation. His eyes, previously slightly wide with the intensity of the search, now fixed on the professor with an unwavering truth. The apostle, it wasn't a death, not as we were told. It was the final ascension. Aurelio, whose corpulent face usually held an expression of measured skepticism, paled. His sophisticated glasses swept slightly down his nose as he struggled to process Ernesto's words and the images on the scrolls. "Are you saying the apostle wasn't decapitated in Rome, but taken?" he asked, his voice barely a thread, a breath of disbelief mixed with the shock of an unimaginable possibility. The weight of decades of study and academic convictions seemed to crush him, now confronted with such visceral and shocking evidence. "Yes," Ernesto affirmed, conviction growing with each word. He knelt closer to the scroll, pointing to the details. "It wasn't punishment, Professor. It was recognition, an end of a cycle. Ezekiel's chariots of fire which brought him otherworldly knowledge, the cloud that took Christ at his farewell. These are similar events, Aurelio, patterns. He was chosen to be part of the grand cosmic design. The martyrdom, the public sacrifice, it was all an elaborate staging to shape popular faith, to postpone the knowledge we now possess, to prepare the ground for a return that is yet to come. The urgency in Ernesto was palpable, a burning desire to make Aurelio see, to make him believe in the truth that now burned in his own soul. That day, in the silent, damp depths of Chalon's abyssal sanctuary, the apostle's story gained a new and terrifying chapter. The veil of normalcy tore further, revealing that the apostle's departure was not a bloody martyrdom, but a spiritual graduation. A transition, a return home among the stars, part of a millennial design that, Ernesto now realized with shivers down his spine, unfolds to this very day. What they had found was not merely a reinterpretation of the past, but a glimpse into the future, an invitation to the unknown. If this revelation touched your soul and sparked your curiosity about the mysteries that shape our reality, don't hesitate. Activate notifications and become part of our community to unravel ancestral secrets. Every gesture you make compels us to go further, to bring to light what has been veiled for millennia. And you, what do you think about this reinterpretation of the apostle's departure? Leave your opinion in the comments and join us to uncover the secrets they don't want you to know. What they had found was not merely a reinterpretation of the past, but a glimpse into the future, an invitation to the unknown. Aurelio, his graying curls slightly disheveled and his usually serene face now contorted in a mixture of awe and dread, lifted his eyes from the pictographic scrolls. His sophisticated glasses lay forgotten beside him, and the look in his eyes was that of a man whose faith and intellect had been simultaneously shattered and reshaped. The smell of mold and the peculiar metallic tang of Chalon's abyssal sanctuary seemed to intensify, almost as if the very air was charged with the weight of that forbidden revelation. Ernesto, Aurelio finally broke the heavy silence, his voice deeper than usual. If what we see here is the truth, then everything I've taught, everything we believe, is an illusion. He made a sweeping gesture, as if attempting to encompass millennia of dogma and tradition in his newly acquired perception. The history of faith, as it has been transmitted to us, is not an unshakable path of light, but a carefully woven tapestry of shadows, a narrative forged to conceal a greater purpose, a design that transcends individual salvation. Ernesto felt a chill run down his spine. Aurelio's validation, once so desperately sought, now arrived with the force of a tidal wave, pulling him into an abyss of new understandings. "Professor, the visions showed me, the celestial scrolls, the essence diary, it all fits. The apostle, like others before him, was not a martyr in the sense we understand. He was a chosen one, a crucial link. His death was not the end of his journey, but the ascension to a new level of service, a purpose beyond this earthly plane." Aurelio, the methodical and rigorous man, now seemed to struggle against logic itself. "An end of a cycle," you said, "a preparation for a return. But for what return, Ernesto? If they control the narratives and the raptures are a pattern, then what's the true purpose of it all? Is it for a last judgment, as the scriptures prophesy, or something entirely different, a harvest, a cosmic scale transition?" His voice hung in the damp air, each word charged with a philosophical urgency bordering on despair. Ernesto, sensing the magnitude of the question, closed his eyes for an instant. The images of the ships that had uplifted him, the connection to Ezekiel's chariots of fire, everything merged with the vision of the apostle being translocated. The preparation, Aurelio, isn't for an isolated event, but for the redefinition of human existence itself. The faith we know was a method of containment, a means to guide humanity for millennia until we were ready. Ready for the raw, unvarnished truth. We are not the only children of this cosmos, and our destiny is intrinsically linked to a universal plan, a grand cosmic design that spans galaxies and ages. The apostle's departure, and that of others before him, was a piece on this stellar chessboard, ensuring that full knowledge wouldn't be revealed prematurely, that humanity would mature under a veil of mystery. The professor pondered the words, his mind flitting between the symbols on Kalon's pictographic scrolls and the sacred tomes of Ernesto's own archive. The full revelation. What would happen if the world knew? Chaos? Anarchy? But on the other hand, liberation from dogmas, expansion of consciousness.
It's an unimaginable burden, Ernesto. He looked at the younger man, who seemed thinner and wider-eyed than ever, the embodiment of the truth that tormented him. How does one live with this? How does one share such a devastating truth? Ernesto felt the weight of the Essence Diary, his only proof, his greatest burden. I don't know, Aurelio, but I know we can no longer feign ignorance. We've been led here, guided by events and visions. This Kalon Absol sanctuary, these scrolls, they're not accidents, they're signs. The plan unfolds, and it seems we've been called to be, in some way, its heralds. The apostle's final ascension isn't just history, it's a preface for our time. That day, in the silent, damp depths of Kalon's Absol sanctuary, the apostle's story gained a new and terrifying chapter. The veil of normalcy tore further, revealing that the apostle's departure was not a bloody martyrdom, but a spiritual graduation, a transition, a return home among the stars. Part of a millennial design that, Ernesto now realized with shivers down his spine, unfolds to this very day. What they had found was not merely a reinterpretation of the past, but a glimpse into the future, an invitation to the unknown, a truth that could no longer be contained. From that moment on, their lives would be a tireless quest to decipher the next steps of the plan that seemed to involve the very foundation of existence. If this revelation touched your soul and sparked your curiosity about the mysteries that shape our reality, don't hesitate. Subscribe and leave your like. Every subscription helps us bring more content that challenges established knowledge. And you, what do you think about this reinterpretation of the apostle's departure? Leave your opinion in the comments. Join us to unravel the secrets they don't want you to know. The weight of that newly unveiled truth in Kalon's Absol sanctuary was palpable, denser than the damp air and metallic tang that permeated the circular chamber. Aurelio, still holding Kalon's pictographic scrolls, his graying curls disheveled and face pale, seemed to have aged decades in mere seconds. His eyes, once so analytical, now reflected an internal landscape of conceptual ruins, of shattered paradigms. Ernesto, thin and with shoulders bowed by the burden of his discoveries, watched him, feeling the same gravity, but also a strange clarity, the definitive confirmation of his visions. The Essence Diary, which always accompanied him, seemed to vibrate with the energy of the revelations, a silent testament to a rewritten faith. "Professor, we stand at a threshold," Ernesto broke the silence, his voice hoarse with emotion and ancient dust. "The final ascension is not an isolated event, but a piece on a chessboard that stretches across eras. Prophecies are not mere allegories, they are instructions, milestones of a cosmic design that manifests now. Aurelio nodded slowly, a deep sigh escaping his lips. It's the harvest I suggested, isn't it, Ernesto? Not a divine judgment of condemnation, but a selection. Key individuals taken throughout history for a purpose that transcends our linear understanding. If faith, as we know it, was a veil, a method of containment for us to mature, then what is expected of us now that this veil has been torn? The world isn't ready for this. Social structure, politics, human sanity itself, everything would disintegrate in the face of such a truth. Humanity, still so attached to its forged narratives, would react with panic, or an even more dangerous blind faith. Aurelia's voice held a tone of warning, but also of a new and terrifying acceptance. Ernesto, instead of recoiling, felt the urgency of the visions that still haunted him, the echoes of the crystalline voices that had unveiled the celestial scrolls in his mind. But what if the purpose of being led here, of being guided to this Kalon Absol sanctuary, was precisely for us to understand, so that we could not necessarily divulge everything at once, but prepare ourselves, decipher the next steps? The grand cosmic design doesn't reveal itself in a single flash, Aurelio. It's a tapestry that needs to be unraveled thread by thread. Our lives now are dedicated to this decipherment.
Every day, more and more pieces of Ernesto's archive connect. More and more, the Essence Diary fills with insights that transcend dogma and reason. The professor pondered Ernesto's words, his eyes once again scanning the symbols on Kalon's pictographic scrolls, lingering on Kalon's starlight fragment they had brought as proof. What we see in these Kalon pictographic scrolls, the journey through the stars, the human figure uplifted by beams of light, it's not just an image of the past, it's an echo of what is to come. And we are, perhaps, the only ones with eyes to see and hearts to bear it. The responsibility is colossal. Aurelio reverently placed the scrolls on a stone slab, resignation giving way to a grim determination in his eyes. The history of faith was a carefully constructed lie, and now we have the truth. What will we do with it? Ernesto looked at the professor, a man whose life had been dedicated to studying what was now revealed as an elaborate cosmic hoax. We cannot force humanity to accept what it isn't ready to see, but we also cannot pretend we don't know. Vereda Nook is no longer just a refuge for my studies, it's our ground zero. There, with Ernesto's archive, with the Essence Diary, and the light these scrolls have brought us, we will delve deeper. Not to shout our discoveries from the rooftops, not yet, but to comprehend the full magnitude of this design, to truly become the heralds, not of a vague prophecy, but of a concrete understanding. If the apostle was taken for a greater service, for a spiritual graduation, then perhaps our service is to prepare the ground so that others may one day understand, or perhaps also be called. We will be the guardians of this knowledge then, Aurelio asked, his voice almost a whisper, as he rose, his corpulent body suddenly seeming lighter, or perhaps just unburdened by his old weight of beliefs. Yes, Aurelio, Ernesto replied, his deep eyes fixed on the professor, a serene but chilling certainty shining within them. We will guard and decipher. Each day will be a journey to unfold the stellar tapestry, to connect Ezekiel's chariots of fire to the events that will unfold in our time. There is no returning to ignorance. There is no unseeing what has been revealed to us.
Kalon's abyssal sanctuary showed us the preface. Now the book opens, and it falls to us, those who have been called, to read every page. The echo of Ernesto's last words dissipated into the damp passages of Kalon's abyssal sanctuary as the flickering lantern light cast dancing shadows on the rocky walls, filled with symbols indecipherable to most, but which, for them, now began to compose a new and terrifying scripture. The world outside, oblivious to the secrets lying in the depths of the earth, would continue its routine, immersed in dogmas and illusions. But for Ernesto and Aurelio, reality had been redefined forever. They were, from that moment on, the solitary navigators of a sea of cosmic truths, whose destination harbor was the very unveiling of the grand design, step by step, secret by secret, until the final hour of truth arrived, or they themselves were called beyond the veil. They were no longer just a researcher and a professor, but links in a millennial chain, carrying the burden of a secret that could liberate or destroy humanity. And that was the journey that now awaited them, in silence and under the watchful eye of a truth that transcends time. If this revelation resonated with your soul and ignited the flame of curiosity about what else might be hidden, join us on this journey into the unknown. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and activate notifications so you don't miss any of the next revelations that will challenge everything you know. Prepare for the truth like never before.